This is Caitlyn from iMac Language Services, and today we are going to talk about parts of speech. So what are the parts of speech in English? We have nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, articles, pronouns, prepositions, and conjunctions. Let's look at nouns first. Nouns are people, places, and things. Nouns can be the subject or the object in a sentence. We have two types of nouns in English, countable and uncountable. It's actually quite important that we know which is which because it will affect the words that we put them with in a sentence. We can use articles, an, with our countable nouns, but we can't use or an with our uncountable nouns. We can use the article the with both. The reason we can't use articles with our uncountable nouns is because we can't count them. Or an means only one of something. We can't count it, we can't add an article to it. Uncountable nouns are a little bit tricky. Some of them are things like fun, friendship, ideas that, of course, we can't count. There are also things like air, water. Again, not easily counted things. Then we get into some more tricky things. Rice. Now, rice, technically, yes, we could count every little grain of rice. But when we think of rice, we're thinking of a whole bowl of rice. We're thinking of a bag of rice. So rice is also uncountable. And then we have some really strange ones like meat, broccoli, candy. But we can turn our uncountable nouns into countable nouns if we add a measurement word. So for example, instead of I have water, we could say I have a glass of water. As soon as we add glass of to water, now it is countable. Now we can use an article. We can say a, or we could say 2 glasses of water, or we could say 12 glasses of water. We can use a, an, or the with countable nouns. We can use numbers with countable nouns. We cannot use a or an with uncountable nouns. We cannot use numbers with uncountable nouns. We can use the with both. We can use no with both, meaning 0 of this thing. We can use a lot of for both, as long as it's more than one. We can only use much with uncountable and many with countable. Same with a little is only for uncountable and a few is only for countable. We can also say several with countable, but we can't say several with uncountable. I know, it's a lot to remember. If you want to make it easy, just use the and a lot of. You can use it with all of them. Next, let's talk about adjectives and adverbs. These are both describing words, but the difference is what kind of word they can describe. Adjectives can only describe nouns. We usually put adjectives in 2 places in a sentence. We can either put it directly in front of the noun we are describing, or we can put it in the structure noun, be, adjective. If we're going to put our adjective in front of our noun, we need to move the article over to the other side of the adjective. So if it's a cat and we want to add the adjective beautiful, it becomes a beautiful cat. Or in our structure, we could say a cat is beautiful. We can also use other verbs, like for example, sound or feel, verbs that make sense with the adjective. Moving on to adverbs. Adverbs are also describing words. You'd think from the name that they only describe verbs, but actually, adverbs are more versatile than adjectives. Adverbs can describe verbs, other adverbs, and adjectives. So you might see a structure like a very quick dog, where we have article, adverb, adjective, noun. We're describing the dog. The adjective describes the dog and the adverb describes the adjective. It's not just a quick dog, it's a very quick dog. We can see adverbs in other parts of the sentence too. Usually they are before or after a verb or after the object of a verb. In those cases, we are describing the verb. So for example, we could say, the dog ran quickly. In this case, we're no longer describing the dog. We're not describing an adjective. We're describing how the dog ran. The dog ran quickly. We could also add one more adverb to that sentence. We could say, the dog ran very quickly. Now we have another adverb that is describing the adverb that is describing how the dog ran. We have many different types of adverbs, and we can put them in a lot of different places in a sentence. Some adverbs can start a sentence, some adverbs can go right at the end, and some adverbs go before the verb. So far, we've been talking about adverbs of manner, how a verb is done. But there are other types of adverbs, such as adverbs of frequency, which tell us how often we do this action. Adverbs like adverbs of frequency are usually found right before the verb they describe. So this time in our sentence, the dog ran quickly, we could say the dog often runs quickly. Often is our adverb of frequency, telling us how often this dog actually runs. One last thing to remember about adverbs is a lot of them look a lot like their adjective counterpart. Some adverbs we add ly, some adverbs we have to change entirely, like bad and poor. Some adverbs look exactly like the adjective. Early is an adjective and an adverb, and depending on where we put it in the sentence, it will change the meaning of it from adjective to adverb. So sometimes when we look at a sentence, we need to have a think about where each word is and how that changes its meaning.